Hello guys, hi, how's it going? I hope everybody's good, and thank you for joining me again for another video. This is Charmaine Speaks MPD, and this platform we use here to discuss everything under the umbrella of narcissistic personality disorder. So just want to say a big thanks to everybody for supporting the channel, supporting the content. If you're new here, welcome to the channel, and if you are if you've been here before, then welcome back. And massive thanks to my subscribers. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. We have a lot of content to discuss, and also if you feel that the videos are engaging, helpful or useful in any way, then do give me a like, please guys. It helps me to get the content in front of other eyes and ears, and helps us to grow the community here. So pay it forward, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So as you can see, I'm on a little bit of a walk today. I do like getting out in the fresh air, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring you with me. Yeah, so a little bit of a change of scenery. Change is good, so I thought, why not? I thought it was quite fitting actually to talk about healing today. Talk about healing, talk about a little bit about the process of healing and why it can be so difficult, and also to address why we might get into these relationships in the first place as well. It's not easy coming out of a narcissistic relationship, staying out of a narcissistic relationship, and not only not going back to that relationship, but also, protecting yourself from getting into another relationship like that. And, healing in a way that you can have a healthy relationship again, or you can turn down, in the same vein, you can turn down having a relationship, and that's out of trust for yourself. That's out of trust. It's not out of fear. It's not out of trauma. It's out of you trusting yourself and your judgment. And that's what healing is. Because we have to get to a point where we can have a healthy relationship. But in the same vein, we have to be able to use our discernment, trust our judgment, and be able to say no for something that's not right for us, right? So that is a process, and that takes work. Yeah, that takes work. Like I say, similar to somebody coming out of an addiction. Just because you stop something, just because we break up, discard the narcissist, doesn't, mean that you've got a magic wand and your life suddenly becomes everything that you wanted it to be. Although there are very meaningful and tangible and measurable benefits, of course. That's the first step, right? But there is work to do. Contentment, fulfillment, purposeful, healthy, joyful, happy lives don't just kind of happen overnight. There's some work that we need to do, and a lot of that work starts with self-awareness. And what I mean by that is learning about ourselves and our own traumas, our own behaviours, our own past, our own experiences, right? And what got us to that point where we ended up in this situation in the first place. And that is uncomfortable. That's hard. It takes patience, and it takes courage. And it also takes a process of grief, I think, as well. Because much when you lose somebody out of, from the physical world, should I say, sorry. When we lose somebody from the physical world and they go, whether it's suddenly or not, we've lost that person. There's that sense of loss, there's that sense of, that sadness, that heartbreak, and we have to grieve for the loss of that person. But even though the narcissist hasn't, passed from the physical realm, the person that we thought they was, the mask, the person that we projected our idealization onto them. Not our idealization, sorry, it projected our ideal, you know, the person that we thought they were, we hoped they would be again, and that we really wanted them to be, you know. Some of that is us projecting our ideal onto them, and that comes from a deeper place. And that person didn't exist. It was a mask, right? We know that. We know it was a mask. We know that person didn't exist. We realize that, right? So we have to grieve that person, because that person they're not there, they don't exist. They've kind of fallen out of our world, fallen off of our radar, out of our lives. They've gone. You know, it's kind of like they have kind of passed in a sense, you know, if that makes sense. So there is some grieving that needs to be done, and we need to feel those feelings. We need to acknowledge those feelings. It's really important that we do that. It's really important that we don't suppress those feelings, and that we allow space for ourselves to feel that, to process that, you know, to acknowledge that we're feeling this way, and comfort ourselves like we would comfort our child or our parent or somebody who we loved dearly, you know, to comfort ourselves just like we would comfort them, you know, and soothe ourselves like we would soothe them. Because dismissing our feelings would, you know, it has the same effect as if you was dismissing somebody else's pain, you know, instead of being empathetic and holding space for them and allowing them to be hurt and to feel hurt. So it's really important for the healing process. But like I said, a big part of healing is learning about ourselves. I'm just going to walk for a second. You know, some of us already recognise that a lot of the relationships that we set up as adults come from the modelling of our relationships when we were children. There's a saying, and I forget who says it now. Childhood lasts forever. True. A lot of us have childhood trauma. Whether we know it or not, a lot of us have been carrying that. You know, some of us grew up in families, whether it was with our parents, other family members, because some of us grew up with other family members, whether it was the care system, you know, or any other type of guardian or caregiver. We experienced our first relationships when we were kids. The first relationship dynamics that we were exposed to were our caregivers. So, with that being said, some of us grew up in situations where we were given this hot and cold, on and off, conditional type of attention, love, and validation. And we became used to that, and we justified it. We made excuses for it, and we gave a unconditional love back, you know. And this is how this is where we learned that about relationships. This is where we learned that to have relationships. And what we did was we developed these behavioral patterns, kind of like a defense mechanism, a survival strategy, you know, survival strategies, because they worked for us. So some of us became people pleasers, as well as being codependent, you know. We also developed a rescuer type of complex, you know, we learned to forgive a lot of forgiveness. And we carried these behavioral patterns through into our adult relationships as well. You know, people who are empaths have a vast capacity for emotional pain. People who are rescuers want to save people from themselves, right? Codependent people are dependent on other people's validation and their version of love we accept, and we look for our self-worth in others. You know, just being big on forgiveness is a gateway to giving people way too many chances. Yeah. And there's some overlap here. You know, we can be all of those things. We can be all of those things for sure. You know, some of us are massive people pleasers, and we go out of our way, and we even compromise and hurt ourselves to do for somebody else, to help somebody else, so somebody else doesn't have to hurt. And all of these traits, all of these behavioral patterns, these are targets for narcissists. So us people that kind of developed these kind of patterns are massive targets for narcissistic relationships, and coupled with the fact that growing up in that type of dynamic is a setup for esteem, confidence and worth issues. You know, sometimes they can run low, very, very low. So that's kind of an added layer as well. So when we grow up, we carry these things over into these relationships, and we do exactly the same thing as we did for our caregivers. You know, we do anything to please them. We hurt ourselves to save them any kind of hurt. We forgive way too many times. We justify, we make excuses, we want to save them from themselves. We think we've got this duty to do that. And like I say, we can take a lot of emotional pain. And these are strategies that we exercise in our adult relationships. Because the brain is very extremely comfortable with what is familiar. We feel at home, you know. We feel like, okay, I've been here before. I know how this works. This is familiar to me. And the brain loves that. The brain loves it. That's why it's so hard to do the inner work to make the changes. Because we're so used to it. It's familiar to us. You know, and when you break out of something like this, you're left with not just a lot of destruction, but you're left with a lot of work to do and a lot of pain to face. So it's not easy. It's not easy at all, and it takes a lot of strength. And I think for me, becoming more self-aware gave me like a canvas with a bit of a foundational layer, you know, to work with. I know my boundaries have been low, and they kind of always were. Narcissists don't really mess with people who have high boundaries. You know, they'll test you, they'll do the intel, they'll gather the data before they even try and get their hooks in with a fully fledged love bombing campaign. So that is definitely part of the healing and the building. And I think for me as well, like I say, after the rumination, feeling that, knowing that I can't go back, after allowing myself the space to grieve, and this is a journey, you know, healing is a journey, but that was definitely the first step for me. And I think as well, what really helped me is because, like I say, we've got these layers, right? I know personally I had low esteem, I had low self-worth, low confidence. My internal dialogue was pretty messed up. You know, there was a lot of negative internal dialogue, and it's taken me time to shift that, to change that, to kind of, you know, bring back that dial to a positive internal dialogue. Self-love, you know, I know it's a buzzword that is used quite a lot, but self-love and self-care, that's another thing that I've had to really work on. Forgiveness took me a long time, and I don't think that's something that you should force yourself into, but these are some of the things that I have kind of walked through. Like I say, slow process, but a massive thing for me was finding something for me to work towards. So I started building my career, went into software engineering. That didn't quite work out for me, but I found something that I really like to love, which is more people focused. You know, I love people. I'm just going to get into a quiet spot here because there's people and doggies coming. I love people and I love dogs, but just want to keep the videos focused as possible. So something that really helped me, it helped me in various ways. So the first thing it helps me to do is keep my mind busy, right? Kept my mind on something that was positive. That's something that was helping me to develop. I was learning every day, you know, kept my mind focused. Made me feel like I was working to something, made me feel like I was working towards achievement, which is really important to build self-confidence, right? Those little achievements, you know, learning and development and building skills and achieving even the small wins, you know, they count as much as the big wins. So that really helped me to get back out in the world, meet some good people who helped me a lot, build myself up, build my skill set up, you know, feel like I was working towards something, which really helped me to tackle that day to day and to build up my confidence. And then the other thing that I did was took on community work. So I started to kind of put myself out of my comfort zone, and I was a terrible public speaker a few years ago, but I just started to push myself out of my comfort zone to speak and got better and better at it. You know, I love it now, but I had to do that because what I wanted to do was go out into the community and help other people to build their careers as well. So when I got my stuff on track, I thought, I can help people here. I can pass on what I've learned. So I did that. So I did my community work, and that helped me to feel purposeful, you know. So that was really good for my healing. Talking about it, talking about what's happened to me. Now, I've not spoken to a whole bunch of people about what I've been through, okay? But the people that I have spoken to really helped me to, felt like my voice was being heard and my experiences were validated. You know, community is really important. Even if you've only got a couple of people that you trust, speaking to people about what's happened to you and what you've been through is essential. It's essential because we need to get out of this isolation in our head, and we need to speak it out. We need to verbalize our experiences. I feel like that's really important, you know. sometimes if you think too much and you stay too much in your head, you can feel like you're going crazy, right? So I think speaking about it is really important. So a therapist is great, a friend is great, you know, somebody who you can trust, a family member, a community of people that have been through similar things, which is what I want to build here. Yeah, talking about it is important. Forgiveness, like I say, took me some time, and I would never force that on anybody, but I would just say that forgiveness is for us, it's for you, it's not for them. It's not for them. You know, it's for us to be able to let go. And it can take some time. But I think what helped me to forgive is that I learned that this wasn't personal. It wasn't a personal attack on me, because I could have been anybody. I could have been any of these people, any of these supplies that this narcissist came into contact with. And that helped me immensely to be able to eventually forgive. So again, it's not something that you should try and rush, but it is really helpful to let go of all of the horrible feelings that come along with you know, with acknowledging what's happened to us. Yeah, these are a few things that I feel like are really important. And eventually, and this shouldn't be rushed either, I don't think, when you feel like you want to date again and you feel like you want to get back out there into the world, yes, we need to be vigilant, because we know who we are. We know that we're empaths. We know that we are altruistic. We know that we are prone to helping people, to forgiving people, to rescuing people. And we can be all of these things. We can still be us. We can still be ourselves. But we do that for the right people. And we do that with boundaries that protect ourselves first, our mental, emotional and physical health and well-being, and don't compromise us in any way. And it takes practice. It does. It takes some work. It does take some work. But boundaries are really important. Learning how to say no is another thing. And learning to trust yourself. It comes from experience and it comes from practice. And I think as well, reconnecting and regrounding, you know, the thing that you do for all of these things that you do, like I've just mentioned, to rebuild your life, to rebuild yourself, to rebuild yourself emotionally and mentally, right? You become regrounded and recentered in who you are, who you really are. And trusting your intuition, trusting your gut feeling, using your experiences as discernment and as a compass almost, you know, for going out there and navigating other relationships is something I think that comes through experiences and practice, and having that internal dialogue with yourself. You know, I'm not going to say we can protect ourselves from all dangers, but we can definitely protect ourselves from what's happened to us in the past. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And yeah, I've got a lot of content planned, but I thought that was on my heart, that was on my mind today, and I wanted to talk about it and share, you know, a little bit of my own journey, and just acknowledge and validate how difficult it can be to break a way to move on and to rebuild, but it definitely can be done. I can testify. So I'm going to leave the video there, guys, and as I said, welcome you to share your experiences, drop a comment. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Welcome you to subscribe, hit the like button as always, and please stay safe. Until next time, ciao for now.